I loved all the Spider-Man games for the PlayStation, but...
Are we ready?
Ready?
We're back?
Mm-hmm.
Go.
I think we're all here.
Ow, motherfucker. Give us our introduction. Hello.
And then take your birthday to the next level.
Boom.
Hello, everyone. I thank you all for joining us here today. This is a very somber afternoon. As we dive into this match, we did have what is the grand upset of the century as Spy lost against Kilgore in the previous round. Not really. Everybody knew that was coming. But today's matchup, we're going to see a very playful kind of fighting. A very sticky situation. Maybe even a little mat, if you will.
But I will say it won't be climactic.
No, it will not be climactic. It will be, in fact...
Anti-climactic.
I was going to make the joke that it was going to be full-on smashing destruction. Anyway, so our fight today is against Earthworm Jim and Bad Mr. Frosty. And as we alluded last time, in Clayfighter, we did actually have these two fight. So this is a canonical fight as well. So it'll be interesting to see how the arguments go. Sean is representing Bad Mr. Frosty, and who's representing Earthworm Jim?
This guy right here, Earthworm Jim from Earthworm Jim 2, the sequel.
And not counting Kilgore, how many of your people made it to the next round?
Not counting Kilgore, because Kilgore was mine.
Yeah.
That's one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this goes.
I'm fairly,
As
I'm
the
fairly
higher
confident,
seated individual, Sean, you get to choose the coin toss.
Oh, God. I don't even want to pick. Heads. Heads. It's going to be tails, but heads.
Heads!
Oh, my God.
Holy shit!
I want a coin toss.
Now you have the true power.
And with that power, I'm going to defer.
Alright. I'm going to go first.
Clearly.
So like I said, Earthworm Jim 2 is what I'm going with here. So for those who don't know much about Earthworm Jim, give you the quick little background. He was originally a normal earthworm. His parents were stepped on and killed a la Batman. However, one fateful day, when he was about to be eaten by a crow, the bounty hunter Psy-Crow dropped a power suit meant for Queen Slug for a butt down to Earth. Jim was able to grab it. His intelligence, his size, and also his face grew to the size of a man. The suit gives him hypersonic speed, superhuman strength. He can carry around cows with ease. He has carried a small mountain on his back. He can dodge asteroids and laser beams with his speed. His biggest thing that I'm going to say right off the bat here is he does have Tube Force. He can take his head and use it as a jump rope, as a whip, super elasticity. He can get hit with other planets and just bounce right up like an accordion back to his feet. As for weapons, in the game, he has his plasma blaster, which is the main weapon. Fires plasma energy, and it has a maximum of 100 rounds before it automatically refills itself. He's also got the 3-finger gun, which causes 3 fingers on his left hand to turn into plasma rifles, and he can shoot in 3 different directions at the same time. He has the Barring Blaster, which was designed as a space station demolition tool. When he fires it, it destroys any enemies on screen. He has a bubble gun, which does absolutely nothing but fires bubbles. He has a lightning gun, which if he faces something that has an aversion to electricity, he can kill it with that. Other than that, it doesn't really do anything. I'd say the Barn Blaster is probably his strongest gun, just because it takes up the whole screen. White Explosion kills everything except for him. His durability does allow him to survive the near-nuclear blast. His super suit also hides his pocket rocket, which is a personal rocket ship he can pull out and ride as a motorcycle. Trying to think here. He also has homing missiles in Earthworm Jim 2. These are kind of like the Barn Blaster. They're just not as strong. They just, when he fires them, they seek out and kill that enemy. The electro gun, I mentioned that. He can... The pocket rocket is as durable and fast as Earthworm Jim himself, where it can take meteor strikes, be fine, can go through planet re-entry just fine, and outrun blasts and attacks. And I'll concede there.
What else? It's a rocket in his pocket.
True. Right next to his actual pocket rocket.
On that note,
Does
Sean,
he have?
We're not getting into that.
We'll get into the Rule 34.
Oh,
which I'm
Jesus
skipping.
fucking
Oh,
Christ.
God. But, so, my character is Bad Mr. Frosty. For those of you that don't know, he is from the Clayfighter series and is the de facto mascot of said series. Bad Mr. Frosty is a giant, abominable snowman made out of clay. Clayfighter games are a mixture of both Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat style games, where a lot of the fighting style is Street Fighter, but then we have claymation brutality, where there is violence inflicted on clay characters. Bad Mr. Frosty has a plethora of ice-based attacks. One of the things that he has is for up-close combat, he has the ability to have spikes come out of him, icicle spikes that can impale characters that are close to him. For a medium to long-range attack, he can throw snowballs. One of the other things that Mr. Frosty can do is he can do the ice teleport that Sub-Zero can do in the Mortal Kombat games, where he goes down into a puddle and can appear behind his opponent, reconstituting himself. Another thing about Bad Mr. Frosty is he has a combo breaker. So if you are getting in attacks on him, he can break a combo with a combo breaker, a la Street Fighter. Another thing about him is he has claytalities. He has two distinct claytalities, one of which he is able to put his opponent inside of his hat and then stomp the hat, killing them. His other ability is to kick his opponent into the atmosphere, where they actually crash into the fourth wall. So that does mean that our character does have limited fourth wall breaking abilities, almost literally. I will say that, as I stated before, Mr. Frosty canonically has faced Earthworm Jim in the Clayfighter games, and it is debatable, but Bad Mr. Frosty is said to have the canon ending, so he does have victories over Earthworm Jim. And I'm going to leave it there.
So for rebuttals, Snowman here, he is more of an in-your-face fighter. Earthworm Jim has some melee with his head whip, but for the most part, Earthworm Jim can stick and pick. He's gonna just blow Mr. Frosty away. His gun shoots plasma, which is gonna take clay away. If he was actually snow, it would melt the snow. Barn Blaster just eliminates him immediately. Homing missiles to go after him as well. Three-finger gun, if Mr. Frosty tries to get sneaky and dodge his attacks. Three-finger gun shoots 3 blasts in different directions. And also, Earthworm Jim can use the Mega Plasma, which is like a charged up like Metroid-style blast. But I think he just disintegrates Mr. Frosty before Mr. Frosty even gets a chance to lay a hand on him.
Said with Bad Mr. Frosty, a lot of his moves is yes, he will get up close to you, but he does have the range. He has another character that can also stick and pick, and he would have the ability to dodge. While Earthworm Jim does have his pocket rocket, I will say that I believe that Bad Mr. Frosty still has better evasiveness with his ability to teleport.
Any other rebuttals?
That's all I have.
Nah, I mean, he's just, he's hypersonic on his feet, massively hypersonic with his pocket rocket.
So, before we get into questions, I did look up the Rule 34.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, here we go again.
Earthworm Jim does not have a penis,
Of course, he's a fucking earthworm.
He's the penis.
but Frosty does. And let me tell you, there was only one piece of Rule 34 art I could find of Bad Mr. Frosty.
No.
Several of Earthworm Jim.
Oh, well.
Just gonna put that out there.
People like to see Earthworm Jim fucking, I guess.
Several of Earthworm Jim
Several.
and none
And one
No,
of
don't.
Bad Mr.
but
Frosty
none he has jump.
He is all head.
is all like using his
Oh.
earthworm tail.
Can we skip to voting? I can't hear this anymore.
I have some
But
questions.
we'll move on.
I don't know if Alex keeps talking about him.
No. It was a mention.
I have some questions.
Okay.
All right. So, Bad Mr. Frosty. Sean, you seem like somebody who plays a lot of fighting games. Is that correct?
Yes.
So if I was to ask you about frame data, would you be able to give me any kind of information about that? Is teleporting, how minus is that?
So, I don't know. I would say that the best, it's hard to say because we're talking about N64 technology here.
Okay, fair.
I would say the best approximation, maybe quarter second, if that. So we're talking a couple frames.
So, like, it's difficult, but potentially reactable.
Right.
Okay. Thank you for that. Andrew, hypersonic? You said he is hypersonic on his feet?
Yes.
That is greater than 3,000 miles an hour. That's canon?
Yes.
Welcome to Lanky Kong 2.0.
Okay.
That would be
If I can follow up with Tango on that one, essentially what this argument comes down to, and I think what the judges we have to think about, is tune logic versus clay logic.
Because, the other thing I have to say, you said the Earthworm Jim can take planets?
Yeah.
As in, like, Mars, Jupiter, that kind of...
Yeah.
Okay, how does health work in the Earthworm Jim games?
So in level, if an enemy's able to hit him, I think 3 times, you get out. Like, there's no real health bar from what I remember. It's because it's like a platform shooter.
Okay, so it's not necessarily he can take a certain amount of hits and fully absorb the damage, but eventually he would get taken out by it. Okay, so it's not necessarily the girth of the hit, so much as that the hit itself lands. Okay, I think I got it. That's all my questions.
I have a follow-up question to that. So, Sean, you said canonically they have fought, right?
Yes.
So that Frosty has won that fight canonically.
Yes.
So in that particular game, how does health work? Because we can assume, based on that they fought, that health logic from Earthworm Jim is kind of overridden by the health logic of the Clayfighters.
So, in game, it's literally just like Street Fighter or
So your health bar, take damage.
health bar, and then all hits, work down that health bar.
So I got a question here. what Earthworm Jim is in Clayfighter, because I don't remember in Clayfighter Earthworm Jim having all the weapons he has from his game.
Well,
I was gonna say, as a judge, I would we would be judging the Earthworm Jim not from the fun that fought Mr. Frosty, because that is in game, as opposed to we are judging from Earthworm Jim 2, which is a different Earthworm Jim. So he beat the alternate universe Earthworm Jim is the way I've been thinking about it. Like his universe's Earthworm Jim got clapped up by Big Mr. Frosty, but not necessarily this universe's.
Correct. Mostly showing it's possible. It's doable.
Gotcha.
I mean, I got questions if nobody else sees it. Earthworm Jim has the 3-finger rifle thing.
Yeah.
What 3 directions does it go? Does it go like center and then angles, or is it like forward 60 degrees back, 60 degrees the other way?
He only ever had a 2D game.
Okay.
So in that game, they go up and down.
Okay.
I'm not going to count. In the cartoon, you can do whatever, but I'm not going to count the cartoon.
Yeah, that's.
But in game, he was limited to being 2D only.
Does Earthworm Jim have any particular weaknesses, or we just kind of talked about like he just takes 3 hits of any kind and he's done? And they can be just melee hits in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, if an enemy gets close enough and does the damage to him before he does, then yeah, he takes the damage. As far as weaknesses, he's at his weakest when he doesn't have his super suit. Like there are a few levels where he loses the suit and it becomes a literal like Mario type platformer.
And he's just like a wiggling around.
Yeah, and then once he regains his super suit,
what is required to make him lose the suit? Like could Bad Mr. Frosty
it's just
make
like
him lose the suit somehow?
it's just like level mechanic, like first level of the game. Like
You just
you're
start
out-
without the
yeah.
suit. Okay.
Or there's a
And we're-
cutscene that's like he doesn't have the suit.
And we're going into this assuming he doesn't.
Yeah.
That is most powerful. Unless he chooses to be at his weakest.
No, I don't think Earthworm Jim would do that. Well, it doesn't work.
What does Bad Mr. Frosty like? Can you explain the teleporting a little bit? Does he just create a puddle, or does he have to like have moisture and water and stuff around?
So he deconstitutes himself, moves, reconstitutes himself.
Okay.
So
He becomes
Okay.
he is clay.
You said he's got like snowballs he can throw.
Mhm.
How severe are these? Are they really fast? Are they really strong? Are they just like I'm picturing regular snowballs?
So I wouldn't say that they're super fast. They're something that you can dodge.
Mm-hmm.
But just like in other fighting games, you can spam them if you really wanted to. You can keep shooting them. There's no limit to them. They shoot off as fast as you can put the commands in. So you can do them repeatedly.
Would you say they're like less than bullet damage severity? Like they move slower and they deliver less damage?
It's hard to say on that. Because,
Nobody
I mean-
has a gun, do they? Like you
no,
Using-
everything's made out of clay.
using them as like
So-
so your blades like gauntlet blasts.
Yeah.
You just keep shooting them out, but I don't know how they compare strength wise.
He's a snowman, but he's made of clay.
Yes.
So would he not be especially vulnerable to like a hot plasma type weapon? Because I'm imagining a regular snowman, plasma is going to be even more severe to him than something else because it's been like melted. But if he's not made of snow, is that not true?
I'm trying to think back to see if.
If he looks
The
like
majority-
a snowman, but he's not made of snow.
So in Clayfighter, the Clayfighters themselves are made of clay. I'm trying to think back to see if any of the characters have anything that's like laser attacks. Because some of them do. Hold on.
While you think
Does
of
Jim not have his gun in the game?
I believe he does. But once
So,
again,
if he shoots him and he doesn't melt in game, I feel like that is
but at the same time, we're thinking.
right. That's a different.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
shooting a clay-based attack.
Yeah.
I guess that is true, because then it would be a clay gun in the game because it's a clay
Clay Jim.
I mean, while you're looking for that, my only other question:
Mayhem Jim.
is there a limit to like his quantity of combo breakers? Because like in Mortal Kombat, you only get like 3 combos.
I don't think so. I think you can just
As long as you input it in,
Uh-huh.
you can keep doing it. There's no limit to them. Well,
I got a question.
in game, there is a character that uses a beam attack.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say canonically, I mean, he can take beam attacks.
Okay. So the plasma beam doesn't do extra damage necessarily.
I wouldn't say so. I don't really see a beam of light being clay either, but
Okay.
maybe.
Okay. I mean, that's all my questions.
It's a fucking matchup.
for now.
Yeah.
Canonically, Earthworm Jim has dyslexia, and that Mr. Frosty does not. Not that that matters anywhere.
Are you talking about people with dyslexia?
No,
I know people with dyslexia.
I have number dyslexia.
Yep, there he goes now. He's bad mouthing dyslexic people.
I'm just saying.
Earthworm Midge over here.
Yes.
I got a question here.
Go
So,
ahead.
out of curiosity, you said the Clayfighters game. Are they canonically made of clay, or is it more of like claymation type of thing, where like stop motion, where like you could like say like this claymation Rudolph is not clay. Rudolph is a reindeer.
So
Is
what
Mr.
it?
Frosty snow or is Mr. Frosty clay?
In Clayfighter, they're a species that's made out of clay. So while they do appear to be claymation, they're
They're a clay-like substance because it's not
yes.
actually
It's
clay.
not clay, but they're
So Mr. Frosty is like a snow clay.
kind of, because he does have the ability to freeze stuff. So
He is inherently clay.
Is he permafrost?
There's an argument to be made. I think, for sake of our sanity, we need to just break it down to tune. This whole thing is tune logic.
Yeah.
we're
That's it. Really is just okay. So
Okay.
I only have one question.
Please make it easy. Please, for one God.
Who wins?
Earthworm Jim. In Earthworm Jim, what is weakness, if any, in Jim? Like, we're not talking like, he loses a super suit. We already established that's a thing, but when he's just in his suit normally in fighting, does he have any inherent weaknesses?
No, let me double check here.
Because, like in some games, in a platformer like in Sonic, he can take damage as long as he has rings, but he can drown underwater. In some fighting games, there's a balance mechanic where some attacks do more than others. So I'm just asking, does Earthworm Jim in his platformer have any inherent weaknesses, like he can't swim so he drowns in water or anything like that?
I think Earthworm Jim's only pitfalls, really.
Okay, yeah. And that catches anyone pretty much. So, okay, that was my only question.
Are we voting?
If no one else has a question,
Can I vote first?
yeah.
I
Okay.
I think that honestly, it's the hypersonic speed. 3,000 miles an hour is tough to beat when you're like, especially when we're talking about like, yeah, like Bad Mr. Frosty is very fast and has like freezing attacks and everything, but like everything is still like reactable to a human. I don't feel like I could react to something 3,000 miles an hour.
There.
And I think that's really what it's going to come down to. Like even if like the plasma doesn't melt any harder or like more, like if you just can't, like if you can't land those 3 or 4 hits, then like, because honestly, my bigger thing was going to be if if Earthworm Jim's an earthworm, so if it weren't for the fact of like he can just take a certain quantity of hits as opposed to like the quality of hits mattering, I think that's what really did it for me, to be 100% honest. Because I think that Bad Mr. Frosty could get like one, maybe two big hits in, but if planets are the same as like a flick, then like I don't know if the bigness of the hits will matter as much.
Fair.
I mean, I'm gonna vote basically the same way, and for similar reasons. It sounds like Bad Mr. Frosty might have the advantage in short range, really up close. But Earthworm Jim's just like, I hate to lean into the tune logic, but he's so fast, and even without it, he's got a lot better projectile weapons and damage than I think Mr. Frosty does. So I'm going to vote Earthworm Jim.
Jordan?
I am also going to vote for Earthworm Jim. I originally wanted to vote for Mr. Frosty, I will say, but what sold it for me was the fact that that the Earthworm Jim that Frosty fought is not like an alternate universe. Maybe it's like weaker. I think the fact that we don't know what the Earthworm Jim of this game would do seems more equipped to deal with Bad Mr. Frosty. And for that reason, I think I'm voting for Mr. Earthworm Jim.
So it doesn't matter, but my vote was going to be Bad Mr. Frosty. Because at the end of the day, this whole argument, and I brought it up several times, it's toon logic. And even by standard cartoon logic, a clay individual cannot be killed, whereas Earthworm Jim, yeah, is elastic, but he is an earthworm. So my logic at the end of the day is that Bad Mr. Frosty being made of some clay-like substance, I imagine more like Clayface from Batman, specifically in like the animated series. I had to give it to Mr. Frosty based off of that clay cartoon logic alone. But to be fair, yeah, it was a difficult fight because Jim, I could definitely see some one-upping kind of moments. But for me, like I said, at the end of the day, cartoon clay logic is what won out for me, and that's why I had to vote for Bad Mr. Frosty.
I just want to say, as one of the people debating it, this was a fun one because it was impossible to argue.
Yeah, it's
There's no logic.
you're arguing what would win, a apple or an orange.
Yeah.
In combat.
To be fair, I changed my mind probably 5 or 6 times, like as that like discussion
Same.
went back and forth. I was just
Oh, yeah,
like,
no.
oh yeah, oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there was no solid winner in that one.
This is how Lanky Kong beat
Kratos, yeah. Was hypersonic speed on his fucking hands.
No, but that does it. Earthworm Jim moves on and will take on either Starkiller or Armadon.
I just want to point out, is this your second person to get it?
Yes.
Yes.
So that means in this next battle,
It could be Andrew versus Andrew.
everybody has at least 2 people in the game moving on to the next round. But will Tango himself go undefeated with a full 6 entrants in the second round?
Jesus.
Tango and Picnic going head to head.
Come back next time to find out.
Turn rivals.
This is going to be interesting.